if you've been in a job for a long time and you just know it's not the right job for you. And it's really scary to think about going out and finding a new job or doing something that you've always dreamed of doing. You have choice, and you don't have to stay in that job if it's just not the right job for you. An amazing thing happens when we utilize choice.
Welcome to Mirror Talk Civil Conversations. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with an internationally acclaimed speaker, author, and licensed professional clinical counselor. Known as the god of enthusiasm, Zander has inspired countless individuals to make epic choices that leads to epic lives. He's also the author of 3 impactful books, including his latest bestseller, Epic Begins with One Step Forward. Plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey. Today, we'll be diving deep into his philosophy, exploring how small choices create big transformations. Zander, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Boy, this is fun. I love doing this.
I'm so glad that you made out the time to be on this podcast episode. While introducing you, subconsciously I was thinking maybe I've mispronounced your name again, because I know I asked you before the show started, but I don't know if I did justice to the pronunciation of your name there.
You did great.
Oh, awesome! Thank you. So before we go into everything that you've done and everything that you do, I mean, I'm just looking forward to having a very deep conversation with you because of what you do, basically. Making those small choices that leads to our bigger lives, leads to the life that we want to live for ourselves.
Yeah.
But before we go into all of that, I would like to get to know you by playing a card. By playing a game of white cards, basically.
Absolutely.
So I explained already before we started recording. We have 3 stacks of cards. I'm going to pick a card from each level. We have 3 levels, and hopefully we'll be able to pick questions or cards that we get to let us know you better.
Okay.
Right. Are you ready?
I am a little nervous, but I'm ready.
I'm ready. I already picked the first card randomly while shuffling it while speaking with you.
Okay.
And the question says, what's something you did with pure kindness but didn't tell anyone?
Well, I went out and bought some jackets at Christmas and just dropped them in a charity box so that people who needed winter jackets could have them.
Oh, that's so kind. That's nice. That's really lovely. I'm sure. I mean, you put a smile on a lot of people's faces, I believe, from that.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. There are beautiful and kind people out there. You're a proof of that. So, next question. Are you ready?
I am.
Pick the card already. Oh, okay. What was the happiest point in your life?
Oh my! I have to pick just one.
Yeah, just one. But you could give it 2. I mean,
okay. Well, I guess what I'm going to say is the birth of my daughters.
Oh, that's beautiful. How old are they, if I may ask?
They are 18 and 20.
Okay. Wow. What makes it? I'm asking follow-up questions already.
That's fine.
What makes those period in your life like the happiest moment of your life?
Well, I mean, even though people explain it, when you first see your child, before that, I thought I knew what love was, but like when you see your child for the first time, you're like overwhelmed with this love, and then a little terror because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible to keep this beautiful creature alive, and how am I going to do that? But I don't know, being a parent, like the love that you have for your child, like you just don't really know how deep that goes and how much you're willing to do for them. That literally take a bullet for them.
Wow.
Hope I don't have to take a bullet for them, but but there is that sort of that level of, like I'm all in. And I also knew that because I have 2 daughters, that it was gonna actually in my lifetime cost me a lot more money because, well, dads and daughters have special relationships. And let's face it, if my daughters go, Dad, I love you, I'm like, okay, what do you want? 4 horses? Okay, no problem. Like they're just so wrapped around their little fingers.
Yeah. I believe daughters are like the sweetest things you could ever have because they know how to get into your heart and get whatever they want, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to make you happy. Of course,
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how old they may be 35 and go, Dad, okay, what do you want? I mean, just, and I know it, and yet I still do it. So,
Yes, yeah. But that's a beautiful thing in life, actually. I mean, what else will you spend your money on, if not on your daughters?
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for that. Are you ready for the last?
All
Last
righty.
question?
It's black. That
Yeah.
can't be good.
It's getting deeper. I hope it's. I mean, you've answered a lot of deep questions already, so I guess this one will be easy for you.
All right.
And the question is: are you holding on to something you need to let go of?
Am I holding on to something I need to let go of? I don't think so. I try and pay attention to when I feel like something's bothering me and figure that out. I mean, I guess that's part of my being a mental health professional is, I think, ooh, where's that coming from? So I don't believe I'm holding on to something.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a healthy life. I mean, I think it's the goal for everyone to let go of everything and just live a free life of
Try to. I mean, maybe I am, but I off the top of my head, I can't go, oh yeah, I'm really holding on to this. So,
oh yeah, that's awesome. And that's a wonderful segue to my question actually for you. I mean, the reason why I want us to speak on this episode, like I would like to know, like your life journey up till from when you were a little bit younger to this point in your life where you're able to let go of things and also you got the realization that okay, this epic begins with one step forward and making small choices. What was that journey like for you? Was it like from birth already you knew okay, I'm living a life of freedom, or was there like a transition for you? Did you experience like some life transformation?
Sure. So everything's got a story, and this is a good story. So I majored in history and psychology in college. Said I'm getting out. I'm going to be a mental health counselor. But I wasn't quite ready to go to graduate school, so I took a 22-year detour through the corporate world. And I did jobs that, if I'm honest, I had no business doing. I wasn't qualified to do, but because I believe in myself, I said, sure, I can do that. I was a software engineer. I spent most of my time doing technical instruction, teaching people how to use software. I was actually really good at it. But I did get hired on a Unix help desk on a fixed income trading floor of a financial institution. And I didn't know what Unix was. And if you don't know what it is, it's a very powerful operating system, but it's command line, meaning you have to type in exactly what you want the program to do. So it's like C:// the whole directory. Like, so it's if you know how to use it, it's really powerful. But if you don't know how to use it, it's really a lot of learning right up front. I had 6 weeks where I had no idea. I was looking in books and asking questions. I should not have been hired for that job because implicit in working on a help desk is I know it well enough to help other people. But I figured it out. I was able to help people, and I had a lot of fun learning that. I spent, as I said, most of my time doing teaching people how to use software for various software companies in the Boston area, and most of it in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I traveled around the world teaching people, and that was cool. But I found that, unfortunately, the instructors, the education department is last hired and first fired. So I got laid off a lot of times. And when I got laid off for the last time, I said, why am I teaching other people's stuff when I know what I'm passionate about and what I want to teach? So I started doing that. I started my own company. And within that, I've done a variety of things. It's sort of evolved as anyone's career does. And I started writing books. And that in and of itself is really interesting because I'm a talker, not a typer. And somehow I've written 3 books.
Wow.
And
how do you do that?
and if you asked me in college if I would write just one book, I'd be like, no, absolutely not. I really don't like writing, but I've had things to say and I figured out how I could write books. Then as I was talking about, one of the things I talk about is sibling loss and have written 2 books on that. And as I wanted to help educate more mental health providers about doing therapy with people I call us sibling survivors. I lost my sister 28 years ago and wrote a book. My first book was about my experience and 5 of my friends' experience of losing their sibling. I knew that I had to have, in order to be able to help other mental health providers, I had to be one myself. So I went to graduate school at 45. Which was super. I mean, it was challenging when I got back there because although I'd studied stuff, I hadn't been in school for 22 years. So it took a minute to remember and get those muscles of studying back in. And now I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor. And so that place where I started back last century when I graduated from college, I'm now doing it. It just took it took some years for me to get there.
I mean, that's how life could be sometimes. And that makes me remember, think about you cover of your book. You have those roads. It's not always straight all the time. It's like you could be with a lot of turnings, and life is basically like that until you get to the mountaintop, until you get to your destination. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And even getting to your destination, it's awesome. But there's that moment, or after you get there, where we inevitably say, now what? Right? This is great. I worked really hard to get here, but it doesn't just end.
No. Yeah, no, the destination is in the journey itself.
It is, and the destination's important. But it's sort of now you prove to yourself that you could do something, but what are you going to do with it? So I'll give an example. I've run half marathons and marathons in my life. And when I finished my first marathon, I was so excited, but I was sort of like, okay, now what? It wasn't like I wanted to go back and sit on the couch and go, all right, well, I did it, and now I don't have to do anything. Some people do that. They're like, I accomplished this, but I don't need to do anything more. But I was sort of like, okay, this is great. I've spent, 9 months getting myself physically and mentally prepared to run this. What am I going to do with it? And I think that happens to a lot of people. We set a goal and we get there. And maybe it's graduating from college or getting a certificate, but then you're like, now what do I do with this? And that's all part of that epic journey of you hit the destination, but the journey may not be over.
Yes, that's true. You just keep on going. You keep on learning. I mean, you never stop learning or growing until you get into the grave, basically. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing your story. And from the last point that you talked about right now is one of the reasons why also I want to speak with you, because I really want to learn how to improve my life and how to take those small steps, make those small choices that could help me, have an epic life, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would like us to dive into your philosophy. Like, how can I start making small choices right now to create big transformation in my life?
Okay, so I think there are a couple of things. First of all, think about where you want to go to, right? Just like when we get in the car, if we're going to the store, we know where we're going. You don't just get in your car or on your bicycle and just randomly start riding around, driving around and go, well, I hope I end up somewhere, right? Right? I mean, you can do it, but
Yeah.
you may be frustrated. You're like, wow, I really want to go to the food store, but I found myself at a shoe store. So first, know your destination. The other thing is that for most of us, when we have some epic dream, oh, someday I'd like to write a book or run a marathon or travel to this place, we don't do anything about making it happen. I've been fortunate. I've been able to do some pretty epic things, like write books, things I never imagined I would do, but said, oh, I'd like to do it. And you don't have to have the whole path figured out before you start. And what I've discovered, it's just like my book says, epic begins with one step forward. You just have to take that first step. And most times you find that step isn't so hard. But another key is creating structure so that you have kind of a recipe of what you think the path is going to be or what steps you think you need to take. But just because you don't have all of the steps, so I'll take my marathon training, okay? I was fortunate. I joined Team in Training, which is the fundraising arm of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and they handed me a training schedule. So it was great. I knew every day what I needed to do to prepare myself for the marathon. So that part, that was easy. But along the way, there were all kinds of things. Sometimes there were injuries. Sometimes I was sick, At that time, I had small children, and as much as I love my daughters, they were very sharing with all of the colds and flus and stuff that they would catch. They would share those with me. So maybe I got a flu and I couldn't run. So even though I had a roadmap, along the way, there were detours. There were things that didn't go as I expected. A few injuries, pulled muscles and stuff that you have to figure out, how am I going to continue? How does this slow down what I'm doing? But what's interesting is along the way, like I thought, how am I ever going to run 26.2 miles? That's a really, really long way. But I didn't have to worry about it. I just had to focus that today I needed to go run 3 miles. And then tomorrow I run 3 miles. And then Saturday I go run 8 miles. And I'm not trivializing how far each of those distances are, but it's more, it was all mapped out. So by the time I got to the marathon, I had taken a bunch of small steps that got me there, right? I didn't just start running 26 miles. I started off running like 3 miles, and then it was like 5 miles. And then what seemed big, like 2 months ago, oh my gosh, I have to do an 8-mile run. 2 months later, I'm like, oh, I only have to do an 8-mile run. It's a light day, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of the way that it is. If you think about your education, right? When you first learned how to write, it was so time consuming and hard for you to write an A and a B and a C, etc., right?
That's true, yes.
So let's say that was first grade or whatever, however they classified, grades when you grew up. But 2 or 3 years later, you didn't have to, it was much easier, right? And so if the teacher came in and, let's say you're in 4th grade and goes, you just need to write write the alphabet down. You'd be like, oh, well, that's really easy. Okay, I can do that really quick. You're not having to make words. So it's all of that incremental part of doing it. And funny thing in life, when we do things incrementally, they don't seem nearly as hard, but then we look back and go, wow, look at all the progress I made.
Yeah, yes. It makes me remember this, what you talk about, this compound effect, basically. Yeah, the compound effect, yeah. And when you look back, it's not like a linear progression. It's like exponential at some point, because you build on what you've learned yesterday, and that compounds to what you've learned the day before, and it just increases exponentially.
Absolutely. And sometimes they're big jumps. Other times it really is a very linear thing. We can't write a word until we know how to write each of the letters. And so there is there is a linear part, but once you learn how to write your ABCs and you learn how to write words, now that exponentially grows, because now you can create a story.
Yeah, like create a story. Would you say that that's like the secret to your success? Like, taking small steps, or what would you say is the secret to what makes you successful today?
Okay, I think there are a couple of things. One, I believe in myself unfailingly, because if I don't believe in me, if I'm not my number one cheerleader, how can I expect anyone else to believe what it is that I'm talking about?
Yeah,
right?
it's not possible.
It's not. I mean, imagine you're watching TV or something and there's a car commercial, right? And they go, well, our car is pretty good, but at 25,000 kilometers, the engine might not work quite as well, and a tire might fall off. Are you like, yeah, I want to run out and buy that? No, they're telling you all of the benefits. It gets, really great gas mileage and has low maintenance and stuff. That's advertising. Well, when we're creating something and putting it out into the world, we have to believe that we can do it. Even if, and sometimes there's a little fake it until you make it. I was fundraising for my marathon, right? I was telling people I'm going to go run a marathon. I didn't know 100% that I was going to finish that race. Who knows? I may have been in the race and I got hurt or something happened, right?
Yeah.
However, I believed that I was going to finish, and I was determined to finish. I'm like, I am not going to fail. However, we also have to accept that failure is part of the journey. We are not 100% successful at everything we try. As an entrepreneur, I like to joke that I've been generous in buying lots of different tools that are supposed to help me, right? And it's not that they're bad tools, but they may not be the right tool for me. And that's true of anything. We sometimes you buy, I don't know, a sweater or a pair of pants or a pair of shoes, and they're just not they're just not right for you. It's not that they're a bad product. They're just not right for you.
Yeah.
A shoe, you may be like, oh, wow, looks like this shoe looks great, but maybe it's just not wide enough for your foot. It pinches your foot. So you're like, you wouldn't go, oh, that's a terribly made shoe. You're like, no, it's just not for me. It doesn't fit my foot right.
And sometimes you don't know until you try it on, and that's failure, basically. Like trying the shoe on, it's not my size, it's not my
size. And again, if we accept that none of us wants to fail, but we are going to do it. It is no one is perfect. As I say in my book, the only thing you'll fail 100% at are the things that you do not try.
True. Yeah. Every failure is a means to learn. It's a means
it is. You learn, hey, that's not how to do that.
Yes. Wow. I mean, there's a second part to this question. I think you've answered it already, but I'll just ask anyways. And that has to be, you're, as an entrepreneur, I wanted to learn from you. Like, I still want to learn from you. Like, how do you bounce back from roadblocks or from challenges in life? You talked about failure already, but sometimes you experience the fallback, or you experience the hitting rock bottom, and then you stay there, you accept the lessons. But how do you then bounce back? How do you get back on the road?
Okay. like everything, there's a story.
Ah, yes. Okay. I love stories.
Okay. So, in order for me to get my license here in California, I needed 3,000 hours of internships. So that took a while for me to get. I finished up my hours to be able to then go take the licensing exam in February of 2020. I was all excited. I was going to take that licensing exam. I had all kinds of plans. Then in March, right about this time, March 5 years ago, we had a worldwide pandemic. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go out and give speeches because no one was in the office, and we weren't supposed to leave our houses, right?
Yeah. I think I heard about the pandemic here. I heard about
and so I couldn't go take that licensing exam. All of the things that I had planned to do, I couldn't do. And while I was sitting on my couch trying to figure out what was going on, I had this epiphany. I was thinking about I was reflecting on my life and like kind of what I had done. And I was marveling at all of these epic accomplishments I had that I had been discounting. And I think all of us have done really incredible, epic things in our life, but we somehow poo-poo it. We don't give them the recognition they deserve, right? We all have things that we've struggled to achieve, and we've achieved them. And I realized that all of these epic journeys really did begin with one step forward. It was just me deciding that I wanted to try and do this. And what I realized was most of those first steps were not nearly as difficult as I anticipated. Our brains are incredible, but they also get in our way a lot of the times. I don't know about you, but I call it the committee. That's the voice or voices in your head that tell you, you're not going to be successful. This isn't going to work. I host a podcast too. Maybe it's like, no one's going to listen to my podcast. No, like any of these negative things. And so, with the pandemic, I was like, I didn't have a choice. I wouldn't even call it a roadblock. It was just full on stop. It was a detour. I had to go in a different direction because I just couldn't move forward. And what an awesome detour I'm on. Still on it, and it's great.
Yeah.
But I also think it's human nature that we think of things in a very linear fashion. We like structure. Structure makes us feel comfortable, right? I know that when I was working in the corporate world, I drove to work the same way every day because I knew how to get there, and that's how I get there. And even though I have the capacity to entertain that there's more than one way to get to my destination, I rarely did it until I was forced to do it. One day I had to find a new way to get home because the freeway I wanted to go up, there was a big accident with a truck and it was closed. I didn't have a choice. So I had to find a detour. Turns out that detour took maybe 10 minutes longer, but was a lot more scenic and a lot more beautiful. So now I had a choice of where, how do I want to get home? I think I want to take the pretty way. It will take a little longer, but that's okay. I want the pretty.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, you don't get to discover new things if you don't try or if you don't, open yourself up for changes in your structure or changes in your way of
Absolutely.
life.
But I want people to be gentle with themselves. We are a creature. We like structure, knowing how something is going to go is intrinsically, biologically makes us feel comfortable, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Wow. So, I mean, I would like to talk about your podcast already. It's also the title of your book, which is basically just titled Epic Begins One Step Forward. So I would like you to tell us a little bit about the podcast, the show, and how, I know it's from your book also, but how people out there could learn from it or benefit from it.
Well, my whole idea of my podcast, and I actually just started a TV show by the same name. Very exciting. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good.
I now have a broadcast TV show. Imagine that.
Wow.
But all of that is highlighting the epic things that people have done. Maybe it's in business, maybe it's a personal journey. But I mean, my feeling is I'm a relentlessly positive person. There are some people who've said that I'm the god of enthusiasm. I'm really excited and I want, and that energy comes out, and I love speaking in front of people, and I love talking to people and sharing stories. And I think really I'm trying to bring some goodness into the world. I don't know about where you are, but certainly I turn on the news and there's lots of things that are not as positive. There's a fire here, there's a flood there, there's,
wall somewhere. Yeah.
There's people getting fired, there's, school shootings, there's like all of this stuff. And yes, it's important to know, but that leads us to believe that there's nothing good going on. And there's actually a lot of good. And in my book, I talk about this concept, I call it the 97-3 rule. And I'm a firm believer that most days, 97% of your day is good. And up to 3% is not as good. Yes, we all have days where we just have a really bad day and it's much higher. That's fine. But in general, we somehow only focus on that 3% and totally forget the 97. And when I was doing my internship, I was doing it, I was counseling middle school and high schoolers. And a lot of them, part of the challenge was academics. So to sort of demonstrate about what to focus on, I asked them what their least favorite subject is. So I'll ask you, Toby, what was your least favorite subject in school?
Oh, I would say it has to be biology.
Biology. Okay. Now, thinking about biology, if you got a 97 on a test, how would you feel?
Oh, super excited. And
yeah, exactly. You'd be telling your parents, your friends, would you be complaining about the 3 points you didn't get, Toby?
No, I wouldn't even think about it.
Exactly. Exactly. You weren't like, well, I lost 3 points. Of course not. You're like, no, my God, I got a 97. And the way your face lit up, oh my God, I'd be so excited, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
We should be that excited about all the good things that are happening in our day. Look, not to sound sort of model in here, but I woke up this morning. That's a really good way to start your day. Not that I didn't think I'd wake up, but I woke up. That's great, right?
Yes.
Here I am. I get to be on your podcast. That is really good. Yeah. I should focus on that.
Yes.
I'm not going to forget the stuff that isn't so good, but I'm going to remind myself that there is so much more good. To just, if I can have one more moment to talk about, to help keep it in perspective. In baseball, we have a Hall of Fame, and you can make it into the Baseball Hall of Fame if you have a lifetime batting average of over 300. Okay. Now I'm not discounting how challenging that may be, but let's put it into real life. Let's say that you're doing activities between work and personal and family for 9 hours. And you could have a Hall of Fame day if you only got it right 3 hours out of that 9. 1/3 of the time you get it right and you have a Hall of Fame day.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's an achievement.
I mean, seriously, if you're doing your job, you go, I just have to get 1/3 of it right. And I'm having a Hall of Fame day. That is not, I don't think that's a particularly high bar.
No, no, it's not. Yeah. And that's awesome. I mean, I love this way of seeing things and seeing life. I believe that's what has shaped your life entirely, right? Having this positive mindset towards things, being enthusiastic, looking at things from the bright side, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, again, there are bad things. We do have bad days. Sometimes we have a bad week or a bad month. But looking at not just the trees, but at the whole forest, most of it's actually our days are good. You know, we make it places on time. We're learning things. We're like, let's not forget that. It's not to ignore what isn't going right, because we can correct those things, but don't just focus on it.
Yeah, don't focus on them. I mean, what you focus on grows. I learned of recent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So focus on the good side of life. Yeah. Well, let me, digress a little bit. You talked about this already before we start before we start this question or this line of conversation. You talked about, losing your sibling years ago. And that's the title of one of your books, which is titled Making Lemonade.
Yep.
And I felt that it's very important for me to ask you this, because I know a lot of people out there are dealing with grief and also want to have, positive mindset, but, this kind of grief and loss that they've experienced in the past drags them into the dark side, basically. So I would just like you to, shine some light on how we could focus on choosing positive pathways.
Okay, absolutely. And thank you for asking. So I lost my sister. I was 28. She was 30. And my younger sister was 25. And there were things I thought I'd deal with in my life, but she happened to be murdered. And that was not one of the things that I thought I would deal with in my life. And yet there I was. What I like to say is focus on the rainbow. I focus on the rainbow that was my sister Lucy's life, not just the dot at the end. I'm aware every single day that she's not here. But I choose to look at and celebrate how great her life was and the things that she did. And myself and my family do things to celebrate Lucy's rainbow and support organizations that are doing really cool things. We have a family foundation that we started in my sister's memory. And I can tell you, Toby, it feels so much better to do positive things in memory of Lucy than just focus on the fact that she died. Because I can't change that, but what I can do is do good things, and feels so much better, so that when you do experience the grief, and it's not that I'm not sad, I absolutely, some days are harder than others. I will never get over losing Lucy. I'm working my way through it, some days better than others. But I think if we remember the good, but also let us not canonize the dead, right? My sister was an awesome person, but there were times where she wasn't a particularly nice person to me. So I don't forget the fact that, all of us have good and bad days. There are times where we're nice, and especially to siblings, right? I don't know if you have any brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Here's something about siblings. We have the dirt on each other. I know my younger sister, and I knew Lucy better than she knew herself. And they know me better than I know myself. And the fact of the matter is, when you argue with your siblings, you're swinging for the fences. You don't start off and say something a little hurtful. You say the thing you know is going to hurt them, because you're going to win this argument, and you're just going to say the thing that just hurts them the most, because you know all the dirt, you know the things, you know all the skeletons in the closet, right? It's not a bad thing. That's just the sibling dynamic. But I choose every day whether I want to talk about Lucy. And there is such power, because now I am defining my loss. It is not defining me. And that's really important. We all have choice in our life. And even if the choice is between bad and worse, you still have choice, and there's still some power and feeling of, I have a little control over this. I am choosing this thing. I wish I had another choice, but I don't. So I'm going to utilize the fact that I have choice. And that goes for anything. If you've been in a job for a long time and you just know it's not the right job for you, and it's really scary to think about going out and finding a new job or doing something that you've always dreamed of doing, you have choice, and you don't have to stay in that job if it's just not the right job for you. An amazing thing happens when we utilize choice. And I'll give you a real life example. In July of 1999, in a 1 week period, 7 days, my car got rear-ended and totaled. I got fired from my job, and I broke up with my then fiance. That's 7 days. That's a bad week in anyone's. There's very little 97 in that. Okay.
Very little.
However, I was living in Boston at the time, but I had lived in San Francisco for a couple of years right after college. All of my friends from college were there. Every time I went back, I truly felt my heart was in San Francisco. So I made the decision to move back to San Francisco. 8 days later, I set myself up on a blind date, and I ended up marrying that woman. Even as scary as it was, I knew I needed to make that decision. And you were talking about roadblocks and stuff like that earlier, about what do you do when you have roadblocks? I think a lot of the roadblocks that we have in our life are actually a mirage. We put them up in front of ourselves because they aren't there. Oh, I can't move back to San Francisco because I had already driven across the country a couple of times. I'm like, I don't want to drive across the country. I've got a good job. I've got this relationship. I'm engaged to this person, but I think both of us were pretty aware that we really shouldn't get married, right? But what am I going to do, right? Well, life came along and took literally in 7 days, took all of that away. I didn't have an excuse. I'm like, I'm going to San Francisco. And it's worked out pretty darn good for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, at that phase in your life, within that 7 days, it would have been like the most difficult thing ever. Like, there's no bright future, but you climb that mountain, you overcome it, and you get to the bright side.
Believe it or not, like as hard as all of that was, I was like, oh, I'm going to move to San Francisco. It was like this awesome, like I remember it in not as negative a way. I was like, oh, wait a minute. All of these roadblocks that were in front of me were just taken away. I'm going.
Yeah. So, that's awesome. Wow. I've learned so much from you from this conversation already. I really appreciate, your answers, and they are very impactful and insightful for me right now. And I know there are a lot of things I'm taking away from this conversation to improve my life also, to be much more positive towards things, optimistic, and also take those small intentional steps towards my epic life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if there's still one epic message that you want every listener to go home with from this conversation, what would that be?
Okay, there are two things. First of all, on your epic journey, you should have 2 words: not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Have I run my marathon? Not yet. Have I finished my book? Not yet. Have I gotten to where I want to go? Not yet. Not yet. For me, there's so much optimism in it. It says, I'm working on it. But if we just go, no, it's just such a hard stop.
Yeah.
And not yet is like, look, I'm working on it, right? When we're in, college or something, you don't ask a freshman, first year student, do you have your degree yet? Because we understand there's a path that they have to take. The first day someone's in medical school, oh, are you a doctor? No, not yet.
Not yet.
I mean, there's a path.
Yeah.
Same thing. The other thing is, I want people to walk away with that epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.
Epic choices leads to the epic life that you want. Yes. And not yet helps me you might correct me if I'm wrong, but not yet means to me right now that it shows that I'm a work in progress, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, some of our epic journeys take time. We have to be patient with ourselves, right? Let's say you're going on a weight loss journey. It's going to take time. If you're training for a marathon, whatever your journey is.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to help people along, help them with their journey, help them plan it out.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So what's the best way to connect and work with you? I mean, for someone out there who wants to,
Absolutely.
listen to your podcast, your books, everything is there, but yeah.
Yeah. And epicbegins.com will connect you to me and, my books. And if you want to work with me, epicbegins.com. Look, if you Google Zander Sprague, you'll find my podcast, you'll find my website, you'll find all of my socials. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. It's all there, and it all has epic in it.
Yes, those are the beginnings. I'm going to place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode, and I encourage everyone out there to, click on the link, copy the link. Your podcast is directly embedded into the website. Also, there are free ebooks on the website. There are courses. You can learn more about your speaking services, and also get to connect with him on social media too. Also through the website. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this wonderful conversation. I'm blessed. I mean, I've learned so much from you already. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's really been epic.
It has been epic. Yes, I love that.
Thank you very much.